Welcome to today's episode, the podcast where we discuss the most recent installment of a different series every show. It is Tuesday, January 27th, the day that the first tape recorder was sold in 1946. The VCR would come out a full 30 years later, then came DVDs 20 years after that. Flash drives were like 4 years after that. It just scrunched and scrunched and scrunched until now everybody streams everything. So the show we're talking about today, Memory of a Killer, is a Fox show starring 60-year-old Patrick Dempsey. I did not watch it on tape or DVD. I watched it on Fox, and it's based off a novel, a 2003 Belgian movie, and also the Liam Neeson movie from a few years ago.
Yeah, so like you said, it was actually based off a novel in 1985, Die Zak Alzheimer, Flemish author Jeff Garretts, and then, yes, the 2003 Belgian film, and then Memory in 2022.
And the Belgian film is called The Alzheimer Case. So in a lot of these, they aren't even floating around the idea of just memory. It is straight up, this guy has Alzheimer's, yeah?
Right, and also Patrick Dempsey, he only turned 60 like a little less than 2 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah, I mean, early onset. So it is about a hitman that develops Alzheimer's, and this is the first episode. It is literally called the pilot, 40 minutes. It is probably the weakest premise that I have felt a TV show adopt in a really long time. I understand why, like, what's good for the goose is not always good for the gander.
Right.
What could make a compelling movie, because it's only like 2 hours and it's a race against your biological clock, and so you can kind of watch it that way. I feel like putting that in a TV show, I don't want to watch a guy slowly succumb to Alzheimer's on a weekly basis. That feels so depressing.
Especially since it's supposed to last more than one season. There's really only 7 stages that they're going to be able to go through. So it really makes you wonder how long he's going to stay in each stage. Because at least in this pilot episode, it's like beginning of stage 1, I think.
In this pilot episode, he does not have Alzheimer's. We are going to go through his day. And what he doesn't remember is like what 99.999% of us would not remember. Okay, so his name is Angelo Doyle, yes. Right? Has a strange name for Patrick Dempsey to take in, but his name is Angelo Doyle, and in one day, this is how he goes about it. He has a morning jog, he picks up flowers, he drives to his pregnant daughter's house. He drops her off at her work, which is at, I think, a school. So she must be a teacher.
A kindergarten teacher or something.
He then drives to his bunker out in the forest. He switches cars, adopts a new identity by like taking off his wedding ring, changing clothes, drives to New York City, still in the morning at this point, drives into New York, goes into Chinatown, sets up a gun to kill someone, a sniper gun, realizes that's not going to go anywhere, has to go into a Chinese restaurant, or I'm sorry I don't know if it was Chinese or Korean, but I would assume because it's Chinatown, It was Chinese. He hides out in the bathroom, kills a guy, kills his goons, leaves, and then he goes to another restaurant where his handler works, this guy named Dutch. He then he gets paid there, I think. He visits his brother with Alzheimer's, so that's a whole different, setting.
That reminded me so much of Mr. In-Between, because at least with his brother, it was, I know here it was like kind of a mental case, but with Mr. In-Between, he had a brother, because he was also an assassin, but that brother had a physical disability.
I couldn't tell if the brother had his own place and he just had a live-in nurse, because it only seemed to be him there. I didn't see any other patients, or if he was just in a really high-class facility. Either way, that's expensive. Right. He visits the brother, he gives him a baseball card, then he realizes...
It's the Reggie Jackson baseball card.
Yeah, he's a Yankee fan because they're in New York. He realizes that he's being followed. And so then he escapes in a car chase.
Yeah, how'd you feel about that car chasing?
I mean, he drives into a parking garage, goes all the way to the top, and he's able to get all the way up there by the time that the truck that was chasing him is just turning the corner. That was strange. Yeah. But I mean, he loves to drive. I know Patrick Dempsey is a huge
car advocate.
He races cars.
Yes, right. That's even on his
exactly
Wikipedia.
How, the Grey's Anatomy thing, he died. He wanted to be in a specific car when he got in that accident.
Right.
Anyway, so he's in a Porsche. He's driving around. This is all on the first day. He escapes the chase. He goes to his other apartment, his assassin apartment. That's where we see him forget his code for like a split second, but then he remembers it.
Well, it reminded me a lot of Best Medicine because the way that they show him have Alzheimer's, they have a lot of the like close-ups on his face and kind of the drowned out sound in the background, a lot like how in Best Medicine the doctor there would always have a similar thing happen when he's freaking out
I
around
would
blood.
just call that anxiety. Just forgetting your code for your security code, especially when he's running around all day and he just got in a car chase. He goes back to the handler's restaurant because he goes to the apartment to figure out who is chasing him. He thinks he does. He goes back to the handler's restaurant, still midday. He then goes back to his bunker in the middle of the forest. He switches back into his regular uniform, goes back to the daughter's place for dinner. And I think he's even making dinner. Like they're celebrating the mom's birthday, the mom who had passed away. He goes home to his, not his apartment, but to his actual house that he lives in, like a 2-story house. He sees that it's been broken into, and then he goes back to where his brother has Alzheimer's. Now, does he have to switch to the bunker and drive to the brother's place in the Porsche? Otherwise, people might get suspicious. Like, why does he keep showing up in different vehicles? Because he's very particular about it. But that all happens in one day.
Yeah, and you wonder why he's kind of out of debt, why he's in debt, because he has all those
Is he in
different
debt?
places.
Because that was one of my points is like, okay, so this guy owns a really fancy apartment in New York City, multiple story house. He has a full bunker outlaid with security in the middle of the forest. He has 2 cars, including a Porsche. He has these expensive suits. And then he also, I think, is paying for his daughter's house.
Yeah, he
So,
is.
like, how is the IRS not on top of that, first of all? And secondly, yeah, what made you think he was in debt? Did I miss something?
I thought that that was a plot point in there. I mean, it seems like that's kind of where it's
I
going.
thought that he was able to cover all these costs because of all these people that he's killed
All
over
the
time. And
assassinations.
my
Yeah.
thing was like, if you're concerned that you're losing it, I understand that he's now being targeted because the person who killed the mom is now out on the loose looking to kill the daughter and probably him. But like after that's solved, just sell everything that you don't need. Have a great retirement on the like just the apartment alone in New York would probably cover him for the rest of his life, probably allow him to buy out the daughter's rest of whatever lien that she has on the house, and just enjoy it from there. Like, I don't really understand with the amount of money he has why he feels compelled to Bruce Willis it for the last little bit. Cause I feel like that's where it's going, where it's like he's going to realize that the memory is such an issue that he's going to try to kill as many people as possible, just
Mhm.
doing more and more botched jobs until he finally has enough that he can pass along to his like new grandkid.
Well, and also Patrick Dempsey, he likes to play, I feel like, the double life character a lot. I even remember going back to something like 2010 when Valentine's Day. Obviously, these are very different projects, but
How so? I never saw about him.
he's living a double life there as well, where he's like,
He's got like a married
yeah, he's married and he has like
family.
yeah, he has a family and then he
It's
also
like Dr. Death.
goes on trips. Yeah, he goes on trips and then he like sleeps with other women there.
Also Original Sin more recently,
Yes,
where he was both a killer and also a, like, police captain. Yeah, he's a multifaceted dude. At Grey's Anatomy, we never learned this 100%, but I think he was also a killer in that.
I have 3 characters here from other TV shows, and I wanted to see you compare them to Angelo Doyle here. One is Walter White.
Well, for Breaking Bad, when we were talking about the brother visiting him, I was partially thinking about when Gus or whatever Gus
Gus.
Fring would visit the guy with the wheelchair,
Mhm.
and that guy couldn't talk, but he had his faculties working, like he understood what was going on. He just couldn't move very much. But as far as Walter White, I was a teacher, started off as a good guy, and then like adopted like the need to continually make money. So I guess you could compare that. But at this point, again, I don't see us in a situation where this guy was at one time just this decent human being. It seems like he is just a trained assassin.
So you think that Angelo Doyle is not supposed to be you're not rooting for him in the TV show?
That's not what I'm saying. I mean, like Sakamoto days, he's killing probably bad people. He even felt bad that he had to kill the guy with like an ice pick, even though it was that thing that he uses for the paper towels in the
Right.
bathroom.
He cleaned it off and then he put it back into
Right,
the
so that the
dispenser.
paper towel dispenser would
Uh-huh.
work, and he was being very courteous to other people who might want to use that. But no, when we see him kill that guy in the bathroom, he was really upset at the handler Dutch,
Mhm.
because he was like, "Don't make me kill people in front of their families on their birthday or something like that.
Yeah, well, what I had was that both, even though Angelo doesn't know it at the time, has Alzheimer's. Walt has cancer in the pilot,
That is
right?
true.
So both
But
have
you could
that.
see him freaking out about it because, like, the thing about his brother is that they're close enough related that he's probably always second guessing himself whenever he puts something somewhere where it shouldn't be. That gets more into the second and third day, which also is pretty crazy, but they skip over all his bunker shifts, so I wasn't able to track as easily how many times.
Right.
But there were some crazy stuff that happens. He shows back up at the restaurant, then he's at a nightclub, then he's back at his apartment, then he commits another murder, and then he goes to the baby ultrasound, he goes back to his home, he finds out that his wife's killer is on the loose, he goes to lunch, and then he stops his daughter from being shot. I do have a couple plot holes with just the lunch because what trained assassin would ever sit with his back to the window?
Yeah. Right.
That's insane. Also, can we stop doing in TV shows the 10% that we only use 10% of our brains? But more importantly, can we not do the sniper guns have a little red dot?
That felt like it was so early 2000 suspense film, and it's like
But it doesn't exist.
that's not ever shown anymore either, though. I felt like TV shows have
We were
gotten
smarter
smart
than that.
enough,
Yeah.
yeah, to where we've gone rid of that. But no, of course,
How
Fox
dumb would
had to
it
bring it
be
back.
if assassins really did need to have little laser pointers where you saw yourself or the person about to get shot get shot? It's crazy. Yeah, and then like I don't understand how maybe I misunderstood from the plot, but how the person who killed the mom was already out of jail just because he ratted on someone. Like I can understand that he got a reduced sentence, but he was convicted of first-degree murder
Yeah, right.
and he was out within a year, like legally because of that. That's insane. That doesn't seem like that should be possible, and I don't think that it is.
Well, that kind of leads me into what I felt were a lot of cons because this has a lot of TV tropes. As we've already mentioned, the dead wife, that's a trope in every TV show you can ever
I just think
imagine.
of Monk or yeah, what else?
I have like Afterlife, The Unicorn, The Leftovers, just to give you kind of like a plethora of them because it's in comedies, dramas, and this is just like another one that has it. I felt like, and then also you have the family member who is mentally or physically disabled. We already kind of talked about that. The lame boyfriend of the daughter,
Right,
someone.
and I felt like giving her crap about him not having the finances, again,
Right,
just played right into, well, you have the finances, you can pay their way, and I understand, like, okay, he doesn't wanna spoil her, but she's obviously starting to raise a family,
right.
and if she wants to have a lame boyfriend, who can only get $3,000 on an app or whatever that he's working on.
But it reminded me a lot of The Bear, even the English
Right,
teacher,
but
because
with the
they had
bear,
that
there's a
in the thing.
reason why money matters. It's like if they don't get like they come from the poor, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not from the richest side of Chicago or anything.
Well, same thing with English teacher as well. I
But with
remember one
this
of the
guy,
teachers. Yeah.
you can't have an apartment in New York City on a high rise like that and just pretend that you are money conscious. Like that's crazy.
Right.
If he really wanted to, he could do all of this without that apartment.
so so
Like he
what?
could just drive to work, switch out with the bunker. The bunker alone should be enough for him to just navigate in and out of New York City, you know?
Right.
But instead he has that apartment just for his own like I don't know, fun and ability to sleep with random club owners for a second episode or
I
something like
think
that.
that it was supposed to be this way, but I felt like I was getting two separate TV shows. We had Angelo with his family, and then we had him when he was doing the work. But I actually kind of enjoyed the bathroom fight scene. I liked the way that was choreographed, and I also
Yes.
liked seeing his John Wick lair underneath the garage where he had like all the guns and
Right.
stuff.
No, I enjoyed Patrick Dempsey's performance. I'm
Right.
just not looking forward to the future because what does Alzheimer's lead to? Not
Not good.
more it'll just be more confusing scenes, more of him kind of like fogging out, becoming dazed, and that is the worst part of the show. Like you want to see the guy put together. This isn't like Ptolemy Gray, where they do the opposite, where you see a guy who's very confused at the beginning, but then they find a cure for it because it's like a sci-fi
Samuel L.
show.
Jackson,
Or
yeah.
Memento, where the guy he doesn't remember things, but like using clues, he's
And
able to pick things up.
and you as the viewer get the answer by the end.
Yeah, that's a movie. that
Right.
works because it's a confined time. This, it's like, say that it got 3 seasons. By the 3rd season, he would just be drooling.
Well, yeah, and
He would be inviting people over to his, memory care unit so that he can kill them.
it's not even the only movie like that. Like, I was surprised to see that not even 4 years later of an American adaptation, we were getting an American TV show adaptation. But even in 2023, there was a film starring Michael Keaton called Knox Goes Away that followed a contract killer with a rapidly evolving form of dementia. Capone came out in 2020. That was Tom Hardy chronicling his final days. And anyone who knows anything about Al Capone knows that by the end of his days, he was not in a good state. Even the
I didn't
fear.
know that. I thought he just went to jail for tax evasion and that was it.
Oh, no, you didn't know? No, he started to get, like, very, very sick by
But
the
was
end
he
of
still
it.
in jail at that point,
No,
or
I think he was out, but I'm not 100%
speaking of
sure.
gangster films, though, you do have Dutch in this, who's from
Yes.
This Fool and a bunch of gangsta stuff. Like, he was from,
He
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas, The Sopranos, The Many Saints of New York.
Right, and so it was just cool to see him. It was also cool to see Richard Harmon. I haven't seen him much besides The 100. He was also in the Final Destinations
I did
Bloodlines
not
movie.
I did not know this. So in Final Destinations, he had a huge fan base. Like, people were
Well, yeah,
calling him a scene stealer, surprisingly thoughtful. He was like everyone's favorite character.
right, because he was the comic relief.
So what'd you think of his performance here?
Yeah, I said it was fun to see him. Joe really didn't do much besides kind of help with the first assassination. He does say where Patrick Dempsey's character, right?
Mhm.
Angelo, he thinks he's being followed by this other guy that he took down, like his brother, his family. And so he keeps on asking, is his name Butcher? What's the guy's, what's Dutch? No, Dutch. So he
Dutch,
keeps
yeah.
on asking Dutch to go after Moshe, or this guy who he thinks
Right.
is following him in the truck. And Dutch keeps saying no, like that guy's a client and you can't do it. Reminded me a little of Leon the Professional.
Huh.
The way that he kept on like approaching him, the
Yeah.
guy who would assign him tasks and stuff like that. And so eventually he goes over his shoulders, he goes straight to the nightclub. Turns out Dutch is there as well. So Dutch tries to keep him occupied. However, by connecting with the bartender somehow knew where the Moshe guy lived. And that's why we see one of the last scenes him go to Moshe's place and kill Moshe, and then find out afterwards that it was really the killer of the mom that was driving the truck. So that might have been another symptom of his Alzheimer's, the fact that he made a connection that absolutely had nothing to do with why he was being followed. But it did lead to one of my favorite scenes, which was when he sleeps with the
Bartender.
bartender and she wakes up and she goes into the kitchen and opens. Who does not have a fridge gun? You know, it's a really funny thing to open a fridge and just see a gun laying there.
I knew that it was going to be in there, but I thought that was the best, scene of the whole thing because it made
Can't
me
count the number of times that accidentally happened to me. No, he tried to like put it in the safe earlier, and then he must have like switched it out, or accidentally just like got preoccupied. It was pretty funny
I
because he
love
was like,
how
go up there and grab me a water, or take your own water. And
yeah,
then
she just
she
noped out
bolts.
of there.
Yeah, she noped out of there.
The last show that I had to compare it to was also The Fear, which was a Channel 4 TV series that premiered back in December 2012. That was a Brighton-based criminal kingpin. He has to deal with dementia as well. So I was just going to say that, yeah, the show has kind of been done before. One of my other things here was The Ice King from Adventure Time. Can you compare Angelo Doyle to him at all?
No, because again, that guy is going to eventually. I feel like he's cure worthy. He just doesn't remember things currently. I also feel like there was the Lights Out show from a long
Right,
time
the
ago
wrestling
about the
show.
boxer who was afraid to continue boxing because of the mental component of it, and getting punched in the face so much and the concussions. And like that's got a really sort of tragic season ender. And so I did like that show because it really didn't delve into him being like confused all the time or anything. It was a sports adventure, but then at the end, it did remind me of sort of where this might just be heading.
I feel like this show is just going to go more and more the Mr. Robot route, where maybe not surreal, but we're definitely going to be seeing Angelo Doyle start become just such an unreliable narrator.
Okay. Yeah,
W-
no, absolutely. I just don't see how that's entertaining. I even found, even though it was cheesy, I found the scene with him talking to his brother who just could not communicate,
Yeah.
except later on when he had like, and they were like, he has good days, he has bad days. But like that first one, it's just so sad to see a relative or someone going through that, and then to just kind of try to do a spin on it where they're also trying to kill, like you lose your autonomy. And this guy's got the busiest life in the world right now. So I understand the gimmick or the shtick of it, but like after it's gonna flame out hard, I
Yeah.
feel like after 1 or 2 episodes, once he actually has like a serious like once you have a serious side effect of Alzheimer's or dementia, it doesn't turn around. Like you're not gonna have a string of good days, like 7 good days in a row then. And even if you were, why what are we watching it for
Yeah.
then?
No, I understand what you're saying because, like, even, yeah, films that deal with Alzheimer's never end with a happy ending. I'm thinking about films like Still Alice, The Father. There's even that album that I've talked to you about that chronicles the stages of Alzheimer's called Everywhere by the End of Time. I thought that the way that the show looked also was a little bit, like, hard to watch because the gray and blue makes for just kind of like a very drab TV show.
The only thing
Um,
it made me second guess was whether or not he was actually in New York, because we see so many
yeah.
cities or so many times that things are set in New York City, and you can tell from landmarks, and you can tell by just the atmosphere. And really, like when he was in Chinatown, it was like, did he just go to a different country or did he drive into New York City? I can't really tell. I saw one bridge there, but like it wasn't very clear. And not that I need an establishing shot every single time. So that is a super big nitpick. My thing though is that like even if this had the final twist of the season being like he doesn't actually have Alzheimer's, there's just been someone fucking with him the whole time, and he actually has just been like
I feel like
super
that would be a
stressed.
cop out
It,
almost, you
it
know?
wouldn't just be a cop out; it would feel like undeserved for the premise that you set up.
Right.
So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I'm going to give this first episode a 4 out of 10 because I just don't see a future for the show. That's my review.
Yeah, RogerEbert.com agreed with you. It said, with so much competition out there, it feels increasingly difficult to preach patience with a show that has so little personality. I know that the TV Guide also gave it a 6.4 and has a 55% on
Great.
Metacritic.
Yeah,
I
nothing wrong with the acting though.
so you're probably not gonna watch the rest of
Of
it?
course not. No, no, no. I'd be afraid to tune in to this one. That's why I called it one of the weakest premises that I've ever seen to a TV show. Anyways, 4 out of 10. See you in the next episode, which is going to be Wonder Man, right?
Wonder Man, yep.
That
Should
should
be
be a fun one.
happier.
Yeah, it not only is it happier, but it's like a meta critique, the studio, like that type of
Mhm.
thing, on the Marvel universe. So that should be fun. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.